Hi, I'm Todd Unbehagen, President of Unbehagen Advisors. I'm here with Conan Raitt, our VP of Tax at Unbehagen Advisors, and Joe Russo, business law attorney, and we've been working together for many years. Between the three of us, I just did some quick math here, and we collectively have 65 years of experience working with small businesses. And this is a topic that is more of less to do with components, but more to do with the mindset of the entrepreneur and their emotions. So, when a new entrepreneur comes in, let's say they came from the corporate world or somewhere else, I usually sit down with them and I tell them a little story of if they came from the corporate world, they're used to, especially as an executive, maybe they're used to having being in a tent as a general in a battle, and they have lieutenants and they're comfortable there. Lieutenants are helping them, and they're far away from the battle potentially, and in a relatively safer area. Then when they come into our office and they say, I'm thinking about becoming self-employed, whether I buy a franchise or start my own business, and I say, okay, now a helicopter landed outside your tent 500 miles away from the battle that you are, and they're picking you up and they're flying you 1,000 miles east into the jungle, and they're giving you a rifle and dropping a rope down, and they're pointing, you go down there, and you basically get dropped in the middle of a jungle. You're now self-employed, and you're looking around saying, what are my resources? Well, there's a snake, there's maybe some mushrooms, some trees, limited water, but I tell them, you're looking at your first resource. It's us, okay? It's basically your team here, and the team that we can structure for you. You're going to need a attorney, you're going to need an accountant, you're going to need a tax person, you're going to need insurance, bankers, you're going to need financial people. So you need to find your resources quick. And then I say you're going to struggle through that, finding things to eat, and a year later the helicopter is going to land again. And it's going to say, hey, by the way, we can go back to that tent and we can get you some tea and cookies over there, and it's real comfortable. And the odd thing is even though the entrepreneur has worked harder and longer and struggled more with sleepless nights and sometimes eating less for a couple years, they look at that helicopter pilot and they go, no, I'd rather stay here. So that's kind of the way I envisioned and seen entrepreneurs grow throughout the years that come from a more structured corporate environment, and emotionally they have to handle that and be ready for that battle going into it. And I do have quite a few of them that go, yeah, I remember you telling me that, and emotionally that helped me kind of prepare for being alone in the jungle, so to speak, right? Yeah. So, I just want to go over to Joe here and have him hopefully add some elements of, what you see emotionally in the mindset of an entrepreneur and the legal side of things working with small businesses.
Yeah, and not just other people's small business, right? Our own small businesses, which we've been running for many years. Business is a battle. To jump on your analogy, it's every day is going to be an issue, and many times when you're knee deep in the battle, whether it's issues with employees, which are usually very common issues with employees, issues with manufacturers if you work on the distribution side, or retailers, or your landlords, or whatever it's going to be. There's always constant issues, and there's always a constant battle when you run your own business. And what I've seen is that a lot of times when you're knee deep in the battle, it's about emotion, and you don't understand or you can't see at that moment in time, right, how to get yourself out of it. And a lot of times us as trusted advisors are there to help them, because we have a different perspective on it. We're not emotionally tied to this particular issue at this particular moment. And so it's easy for us to go ahead and start, especially the way we think, because this is the way we're built. We start analyzing things from a different perspective and start figuring out steps. Okay, well, I see the issue. I see what we're going to have to deal with, and here's how I would handle it: A, B, C, and D. And by the time you go through that conversation with the business owner on how to deal with this particular issue that we're dealing with, they usually come back and say, "Oh, I feel a lot better."
Clarity.
Why? There's clarity there, and there's a plan. Mm-hmm. So one of the things is you deal with problems by creating a plan of a solution for it, right? Because the problem will just sit there and fester if you don't do anything with it. If you go ahead and sit down with somebody and be able, okay, here's my problem, right? How am I going to deal with it from an emotional standpoint? Well, the first thing you deal with it from an emotional standpoint is to create a plan for it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's difficult if you try to do it yourself, because you can't. You're not in the right frame of mind to deal with it at the time. So we help go ahead and start putting together the solution to the issue. And I think it's very helpful.
In the entrepreneur battle, when the bullets are flying over,
right?
Sometimes through the fog, it's nice to just have that professional that comes in and says, "Look,
right,
here's where people are, here's where they're going,
right,
here's what we're going to do." Okay, that makes sense, and then you have confidence.
And many times we've seen it. Many times, let's put it this way. Nobody's a world unto themselves, right? These issues happen all the time.
Sure.
And they're very similar to things that we see all the time. So we already have an understanding of, okay, I've seen this, don't you worry about this. I've seen this happen 1,000 times. This is how it works. Yeah. You do A, B, and C, and you should be fine. Really? Mm-hmm. This is really? That's what I get.
I mean, over our 60 plus years of collective experience between us working with small businesses here, I mean, we've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of businesses fail, and even better, even more than that, succeed. So, saying, here's what we've seen before and here's what you can do. I mean, it just gives you all that much more confidence if you're working with professionals that have been doing this as long and for as many great, successful small business and entrepreneurs clients as we have, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks, Joe. And we'll go over to Conan here and get his take on entrepreneurs and their emotions and see what Conan can add.
Thank you.
All right.